Welcome to the virtual info session for Code Platoon. Code Platoon is a non-for-profit that helps support veterans and members of the veteran community transition into a career within technology. Specifically, we have programs around full stack software engineering, AI, cloud, and DevOps. And yeah, we have a great track record of taking individuals, getting them trained up within those specific domains and helping them find employment therefore after. You have us for about 30 minutes to answer any Q&As that you might have. I guess preemptively, we do have some cohorts that are coming up. The deadline for our next cohort, which is full stack software development. Our Corsair platoon is November 30th, so definitely plenty of time for you to complete your application and get accepted into the program. But yeah, here to answer anything that you might have top of mind. Hey, Kyle. Hey, Samuel. Hey, Brandon. Hopefully you guys have, just some questions that you're hoping to have answered by us.
Yeah, I've got a question, just kind of right off the bat. Um,
Sure.
I know that I was looking around the website for a tuition, and I noticed, obviously, since it's for veterans, you mentioned the GI Bill and VR&E, but apparently there are also scholarships, or there's like a need-based payment structures. Is that right? How does that work? Basically, how does the tuition work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. For the majority of our students, they're utilizing their GI Bill, but we also accept VR&E. And for those that don't have any GI Bill left, they're not eligible for VR&E. We have a scholarship that is funded through our donors called a Pay What You Can scholarship. And it is literally that. When you get accepted in, when you meet with our admissions administrator, she'll ask you just what you can reasonably pay. You answer that question, and our scholarship will take care of the rest.
Okay, so as a follow-up, sorry, I'm taking the floor from everyone else, but this is real quick
No, that's the
follow-up.
point of this. Don't apologize for asking questions during the
Yeah, yeah,
info session. That's what you're here for, right?
I want everyone to get a chance. But no, my follow-up would be, so I'm actually in school right now. So I'm using my GI Bill, and as far as I know, I can't use the GI Bill and say VR&E at the same time. So how would that work for me if I was interested in
Yeah,
doing
that might be
Code
an
Platoon?
edge case. To ask some questions about you, like, are you trying to learn through Code Platoon on top of learning through school? I feel like
Yeah.
that would be a really big time commitment, right? Like we have 40-hour week programs, then we have 20-hour week programs. So I think that bandwidth might be really tough. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts
so
there?
I'm uh, I'm in a graduate course right now, and I'm using the GI Bill, so I'm a full-time student. I've got plenty of time, but I would like to be job ready sooner than later, and my master's won't be over for another like 2 years or so.
And you said you're full time. I'm assuming is that like around a 40-hour week commitment?
When I say full-time student, I mean like I don't have a job or anything. It's only school, so no
Okay.
no
Well,
work.
maybe we could find some time to discuss your case a little bit more in depth. I think that that is a unique situation.
Yeah,
If you're looking to kind of do
yeah,
both, it sounds like um, I would just transparently tell you though that that might be a tough time commitment, to be honest. Just with what the expectation of our courses are. But yeah, more than happy to discuss with you on a later time and date about your specific situation. And we might have to talk with our admissions administrator, Tish, just about what that could look like for a possibility for you. Usually people are, kind of using one of those benefits and not trying to use multiple at once.
right. Thank
Great.
you.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Let me put
Um,
my email address down in the chat here, and then we can find some time to potentially chat in the future. Any other questions that anyone has at the moment?
I have a question.
Yes.
So you said the next course starting in February, which I saw online, but the
Mhm.
deadline is November 30th. So I just want to know what the full stack, what does the course entail? What are you guys going to be like teaching in it? Is it going to include AI, DevOps, cloud?
Yeah. And just to make sure I heard that correctly, you were asking what the course entails, like what we would be learning during the full
Yes.
stack curriculum.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. And if you have, maybe Kayla, if you can drop a link into the chat with just that course overview to tell you a little bit about what the goal of the course is to tell you about what we're hoping to train you to be is basically a web developer. So a software engineer that is building out websites. There's a back end and a front end to coding. The front end is what you are probably familiar with when you go on the World Wide Web and you type in like Facebook.com or Amazon.com. What you're seeing, what you're touching, those buttons, that is all front end software engineering. Now, there's a lot of logic that powers that on the back end. So if you click, checkout in Amazon, that's queuing the back end to then redirect you to another page, which has all the items that you've kind of put in your cart. So what we teach you is both front end and back end software engineering. Back end software engineering, we teach you JavaScript, which is a very powerful programming language. It's very widely sought after. It's a very popular tech stack kind of core programming language, and then React, which is the most popular front end framework. We also teach you a little bit of Python. We teach you Python so that you can write scripts to automate and set up API endpoints. And that's basically like one website talking with another website to stream data. So if you think about your phone, I don't know if anybody has an iPhone, but if you click on the weather app on your iPhone, Apple doesn't like have sensors all over the world gauging what the weather is. What they do is set up an API with the weather channel that does have that information, and then it streams it to Apple and basically, is able to leverage that third-party service. So JavaScript for the back end, React for the front end, and then Python for some API work is what we're teaching you in the full stack curriculum. And then Kayla just dropped a link to the course book. That'll give you probably a little bit more of an expanded, a little bit more directed overview of what would be taught in that course.
Okay. Yeah. The second question I have is because I like in-person classes. I prefer in-person than online. Sorry. So you guys have the classes, and is it in Chicago?
Yes, so we are headquartered in Chicago, and this could tie in a little bit. I see your question there, Rick, and we'll get to your question as well, Jeffrey. We're based in Chicago, so our company, our organization, and the timelines that you'll see for classes are based around Central Standard Time. Our office is at, don't tell me, Kayla, it is at 1 South Dearborn, 1 South Dearborn Street, right? All right, cool. So I think it's just like 2, 3 blocks west of Millennium Park. If you guys are familiar with Chicago, maybe you've seen the Bean before. We're not that far away from the Bean. You could probably get from the Bean to our office in maybe like 10 minutes or so. We do offer in-person learning. That being said, even if you are in person, the classes will be hosted on Zoom, as the majority of our students are going to be virtual. So you would be in our classroom, you'd be able to learn. You can kind of see a little bit if I duck my head. There's the classroom behind. It's not black and white though. We're not a classroom from the 1920s or anything like that. But yeah, you basically are able to learn. You're learning virtually though, but it's a great way to make some, kind of immediate connections with other classmates that are in the room, kind of learning alongside you, build that relationship. I think it's very valuable. That being said, though, if you need to learn remotely, that we're kind of built for that. So, awesome. Hopefully that answered your question, Samuel. Did I kind of hit all the points that you were curious about?
Sorry, I need to ask one more question. So
Yeah, of course.
fully stack software engineer, and you have the AI cloud DevOps engineer separately?
Yes. Yes. So think of them as two different curriculums. If you were going to learn math, you might learn calculus, and then you might learn algebra. They're just two different things. Even though they're both technology software focused classes, they have different domains.
Okay.
And just because I think it leads into it, AI Cloud and DevOps is teaching you how to orchestrate how code is deployed from a production level environment into the cloud. So when you're writing software, it might be on your local machine. You could have, in your very hot bedroom, if you're hosting all of Amazon, because you have a lot of servers in there, you have all this code here, right? And it's in your room. Well, your customers aren't going to come to your bedroom to access the web. You have to deploy that code. And so AI Cloud and DevOps is basically teaching you how to take programs and safely and efficiently launch it into the cloud for your users all across the world to then access it. For that cohort, in terms of tech and languages that you're learning, Python is the language of choice that we teach, and you will be exposed heavily into the Amazon Web Service arena, which is AWS. I'm sure you've seen some commercials for it. It is the largest cloud provider in the world. Amazon made its money, made its profits from AWS, even though they make a lot of money still from their e-commerce store. AWS is really their cash cow, and they build a lot of automation tools. AWS SageMaker is one that you'll be touching on a lot in the AI Cloud and DevOps course. A quick analogy I think of is like a restaurant. Your full stack software engineer is creating programs, much like a chef is creating unique dishes, and your AI Cloud and DevOps or cloud engineer is making sure that those dishes go out efficiently to your guests. So think of like a front office or front house manager at a restaurant. They're the ones that are organizing the dining room. They're the ones that are making sure the wait staff is delivering food on time, that it's hot, customers are having a good experience, all that stuff. So kind of two different things that are very important within a restaurant, the same two different things that are very important with web development and deploying out code to your end customers. But yeah, to get to a few other questions that I saw we had here, and thank you so much, Kayla, for jumping in. Just to reiterate, Rick, it looks like you asked what the part-time schedule looks like. Kayla, totally nail on that. It's 28-week courses, remote Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So that's really important. Sometimes we have people learning in the West Coast, East Coast. Everything that we do here is built around Central Standard Time, where we are headquartered. And then looks like Jeffrey had a question about introductory Python courses. How can I sign up for that? I know I missed it last month. Yes, we have self-paced courses, which go whenever you want, 24 hours basically. It's at your own speed. We have those modules on our website under free courses. And we also have Intro to Coding Live, which we just capped off for a session. What was that, like 2 weeks ago? But we do have our next one. Am I wrong on this, Kayla? Is it March? Do we have a March time frame for when we're launching the next
Yeah, the
Intro to Coding
next
Live?
intro live course will be in March, but we do have a self-paced version that you can start at literally any time. So if you are wanting to start kind of from the basics, I'd start with the self-paced one for now, even if you're interested in the March one, just because you've got a lot of time in the meantime. And that is the link to join the free courses we offer.
Awesome.
Since I was kind of monitoring the chat while you were talking, just to make sure we hit everyone's questions, Jeffrey had asked if we work with VR&E. The short answer is yes, but if you wanted to speak a little more on that, Danny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, VR&E is one of the programs through the VA that we work with. There, you would need to work with a counselor who will give you approval. We have a lot of experience working with those counselors, but again, it's just all about communication, communicating with us. When you go through the application process for part one, it'll ask you how you're planning on funding your cohort. And, GI Bill, VR&E, and scholarship are three of the options for you. So if you are planning on doing it through VR&E, just select that and make sure the communication with your counselor is looping us in. The counselors are aware of us. We are in the system. We are approved. So hopefully that process is relatively streamlined. That being said, we know that with the government shutdown, it did kind of limit some of the bandwidth of some of these VA counselors. So we're totally understanding with that. If you are going through the process, finish your application, and you really don't need your funding solidified until, basically the day before the first day of class. So hopefully over the next few months, if you're planning on our next cohort, which is Corsair, and it's starting in February 2nd, you'll be able to get everything that you need before then and going into the new year.
Awesome. There were some other questions,
Yeah.
but while we're still on VR&E, Jeffrey, as a follow-up, is the GI Bill easier than VR&E? My thought
Yes.
on the matter is it's kind of
Yeah.
like comparing apples to oranges a little
Yeah.
bit.
They're a little bit different, that's for sure. It's tough to compare. I would say, if you were to ask all of our students, all of our graduates, GI Bill is typically easier in the process than VR&E. That being said, it's tough to compare the two. The big thing with the GI Bill is you don't need as many touch points with your VA counselor. So that's kind of it. But use whatever, you feel is necessary and appropriate for you. All of them are workable options. There is another option that I didn't mention. And this is really pertaining to active duty veterans right now, which is SkillBridge. SkillBridge is a program which allows you to leave your duty while still being active in the military and basically gain vocational abilities and learn how to kind of gain the skills to be employable, therefore, after the military. So it's at about 180 days of a window that you have. You do need command approval, but that is a program that we also support here at Code Platoon.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah.
We are almost caught up. Just one last question from Jeffrey. What are your thoughts about the current job marketing considering AI and like some of the more publicized layoffs, particularly where it comes to job outlooks is where we're getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I will note, and this is my background is I was a software engineer and a data analytics engineer right out of college. I worked for the government, for the Department of Energy. That was not the place for me, at least. Like I was just young and didn't really want to work for the government. But I came back to Chicago and I started working specifically with startups, specifically building out software engineering teams. So I have a lot of experience working in the job market for software engineers. And the job market and opportunities for tech have always been immense. I mean, have been doing this for about 8 years or so, and always incredibly strong. I will say that in 2020 to about 2023, the job market was at white hot. Like if you have a car, we're at max speed. Part of that is because macroeconomically, the Fed rate was so low, like almost near 0% to borrow from the US government, that companies were able to invest heavily in their technology teams. And they were trying to push out features and basically expand their product offerings as fast as possible to capitalize on that opportunity. AI has definitely changed a bit of that, and companies right now are starting to explore what AI can do for their businesses, how AI can basically increase their profits. That's what all companies are focused on. An easy way to increase profit is not to always just increase revenue, but to lower your expenses, and payroll and the humans that work for you are a high expense. So companies naturally wanted to explore how much AI can affect that. So the car slowed down. So instead of a car going at max speed, it slowed down a little bit. And that's where we're seeing some of these layoffs. That's where we're seeing AI impact some different organizations. That being said, the car is still going extremely fast. Tech hiring is still extremely high, and it's an extremely sought after position. It's something that a lot of companies are always looking for good tech talent. What we teach our students is project-based work that allows them to point to things that they've built that are open source, meaning that anybody can look at them. If you work for Amazon, your code repositories are going to be private. You can't just showcase the work that you did to a potential other employer. But at Code Platoon, we do all of our projects open source, so everybody can look at it. You can talk to an interview about things that you worked on, code that you've written, ideologies there, but we train you to be job ready, to be able to pass through technical interviews and coding exercises that you'll be asked when you're going through these different interview processes. So granted, the cars slowed down a little bit, but in my mind, I think AI will definitely help a good engineer become more productive, but it's not erasing and eliminating a software engineer. It might make it so that organizations are trying to figure out like what the possibilities are. That being said, there's a lot of negative ramifications that I've seen from tech teams that are leaning too heavily into AI, and AI doesn't understand context. And so they're adding in code that can be implemented into a code base, but not really having all of those different, end cases covered. And so you have issues where, you know, a lot of products are crashing, features aren't running the way that they're designed because they're leaning too much into AI. So I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say what the future will entail. At least the indicators that I'm seeing, a good software engineer will always be sought after in the tech industry. And what we teach you is those fundamental basics and project-based work so that you can point to something and be able to, you know, showcase things that you've done and skills that you've built to potential employers. I know that was a little bit of a you know, monologue there, but hopefully that answered your question. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't give you like an exact outlook, but I will say that, you know, there's a lot of job opportunities, and our success rate for placing individuals is at about 75% within the first 6 months of a student graduating from our course. Okay, and it looks like Samuel had a question. What's the difference between a 15-week immersive and a 28-week evening and weekend? Yeah, I think you kind of covered that a little bit, Kayla, but it's really just your time commitment, right? I think a 40-hour-a-week commitment is really difficult for individuals that, you know, have a job, have a family, have other commitments, and we created evenings and weekends to allow people that are working, that have other commitments, to be able to still learn while keeping, you know, their employment, while still keeping their commitments, you know, available, so to speak.
Yeah, and our full stack software engineering program is offered in both the 15-week immersive and the 28-week evening and weekend model. So you can pick, it's virtually the same curriculum. So really just timing based on what works better for you there. And the AI Cloud and DevOps engineering program currently is only offered in evening and weekend format at this time.
Hi, Brendan LeBraga. I have a few questions. Some of them are follow-ups to what you guys have discussed, and just easier to chat about it rather than text it all
Sure.
out.
Oh,
So
that's
you
totally
do,
fine.
yeah. So you do talk about kind of the changes that we're all undergoing. And I know even with my work now and what have you, AI permeates throughout. I see in your guys' book that you sent over, AI tools and skills. I mean, the way that I look at it in its very novice way is kind of a skill shift of engineers moving more towards or away from pure coders to almost like AI augmented architects. Um, when it comes to the skill set that's being taught, I understand that I can't go fast on a bike if I don't know how to ride the bike. So I do know that I need to set a baseline. But then when it comes to integration of AI tools, the way that it reads on the thing is that using tools to help facilitate coding, or is that genning up the actual like making AI chatbots themselves? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Basically, are we teaching you how to vibe code, or are we teaching you how to use AI to basically kind of like build around some of the projects? And I would say definitely a lot more of the latter. Part of the API builds, if you think about more dynamic websites, a lot of them have chatbots, which, you know, are connected with an LLM or a large language model to allow you to give your customers immediate answers. So if you're selling widgets, you know, you might have a customer ask you, "Hey, I'm looking for this widget in this size and this, you know, capacity. Are you able to do this?" And a chat bot can basically fetch that information and provide it to your customers. Granted, sometimes those need to be escalated and you eventually get connected to a human or a sales rep or something like that. So we teach that in the sense of you know, making API endpoints with AI, agentic AI agents. And then we also we try to focus on you learning the basics and not leaning on AI to do vibe coding. Vibe coding can help you, you know, like build something fast. The quality of that, though, isn't great. You know, I think that that's something that a lot of engineers are very aware of, is that right now we're in a situation where if you lean too much on AI to kind of provide you code or build something larger, it falters, it fails. It's like having you know, a recent grad build a plane. It's like they need the years of experience to really get the design pieces down so that you feel confident for this plane to fly safely. So a little bit of both, but I would say absolutely more of the latter, which is, you know, building API endpoints to communicate with chatbots. And we do want to be precarious and include a little bit of where, there can be some help with AI to spin things up quickly. Could be replicating a repository, but being mindful and double checking the work to make sure you're not leaning on it too much. And that is also something that academia is starting to figure out a bit more, which is difficult. You have a lot of recent graduates that are coming out of schools with CS degrees, but they lean so much on AI that when they go through coding interviews and they don't have the opportunity to spin up Cursor, Claude, ChatGPT, they're absolutely crashing and burning on these coding exams. So there's a lot of value in actually learning what those fundamentals are and not leaning heavily on AI to
That
just
makes
give
sense.
you
No, no,
answers.
I fully appreciate that. And then just talking about the different ways to go about it, you guys obviously have a bunch of different models to be able to conform to people's lifestyles. When it comes to SkillBridge, that's the thing I've been exploring now. But is that something that when some SkillBridge, it's you almost there's fellowship style, there's internship style. This is you would just be taking the course. Would it be free because it's the SkillBridge and you're still working, or would you still have to do your GI Bill at the same time? How would it work if it
Great,
was free?
great question. If you do SkillBridge would be your full funding source. The VA pays for that, as well as you would be able to continue getting more payment from the government for your active duty service. So it's basically an opportunity for individuals to take time away from their duty to gain skills that will transfer and kind of be a bridge. That's kind of the idea is that the people are kind of like ETSing and they want to gain skills so that they can get a job lined up when they're done. But at the same time, you're still able to earn that wage that you had as an active duty military member.
Okay. And then just my last question. What does it look like going through the program? I see you guys talk about the day-to-day, week by week, but then when it comes to culminating, like it's a certificate or what's the culmination of it? Is there an exam at the end? How
Yeah,
does success kind of play
great
out
question.
throughout this?
Yeah, great question. And then just to make sure I hammered on your previous question or I just answered it plainly, if you do SkillBridge, you would not need GI Bill or another funding source. So SkillBridge would take care of everything. I don't know if that was too verbose and didn't give you an exact answer you were looking for, but SkillBridge would take care of your tuition. On to your next question. It's a lot of project-based work, which culminates in a capstone project, which you're going to be presenting. And we actually record those capstone. I don't know, Kayla, I mean, you might be able to spin this up really quickly, but there's really cool things that students will create and things that are kind of great groundwork for potential businesses. We publicize that all on our YouTube channel. So if you kind of want to see like, hey, what's the end zone look like if I were to go through this process and score a touchdown, that is the touchdown right there, is being able to have something. And the quality of these projects are pretty amazing. The kind of projects that we hope people will put on their resumes and employers will inquire about. And you could showcase to your employers and say, hey, I worked on this, basically like maybe it's a platform that, helps you book car rentals, or maybe it's a platform that, is a social media platform for people that are really interested in ceramics. It'll be anything. Honestly, that's something that you'll do as a team. You'll basically be kind of put into a group and then you'll all work on something. You'll divvy up what your responsibilities are, and then you'll present it at the end of the class. You mentioned the word certificate. We don't offer a certificate. And I would say that any organization that tells you that, like, here's your certificate in Java, you might be dubious, and I'd be questioning what their actual credentials are. It's almost akin to saying, hey, I have a certificate in speaking Spanish. Well, can you speak Spanish? Like, that's the first thing people are going to want to know. So, speaking on behalf of somebody that's worked with countless engineers getting jobs, interviewers don't really care about what certifications. You could have a certification from the president that says, yeah, I'm great at Python. They're going to put you through a Python test and they're going to really want to see what those skills are. So we don't offer any certifications. And I think that part of that is because we teach you the skills, and the skills hopefully speak for themselves when you get through the interview process.
No, I really appreciate that approach. The reason why I ask is I'm looking at it two different ways. One is the skill bridge route, but obviously that has to align with that whole 180-day requirement, the way that it works out, having terminal leave and all the nuance to it. Your dates have to align well. And for myself, they align almost, but my wife is due May 1st. So
Ah,
there's that 2 weeks because it goes from February 1st to May
yeah.
15th. So I just didn't know what that looks like if I were to explore the SkillBridge option. of the last 2 weeks. And it would be something that would be kind of doable still, because I would just do paternity leave after that. But anyways, then the
Yeah.
alternate route is doing a later program, either evenings or nights or what have you. But I wanted to consider the SkillBridge route, but it's just that 2 week overlap.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I will say, because that is a unique situation, and best of luck, through the process. You can ETS during SkillBridge. So that's also something that is totally fine. If you were to have a situation where, your wife is going into labor, the baby's born, we are very flexible in the sense of communicate with your instructors. It might be something where it's like, hey, I'm not going to be able to jump on the call. I just had a baby, but we record all of these class sessions. We post them in a repo. So it makes it possible for an individual, if you're sick, if you need to leave for personal reasons, you can rewatch those videos at your own pace, at your own time. And as long as you're keeping up with the coursework, as long as you're keeping up with communication, which is really important, we're very flexible and we're understanding. And obviously, as a life event like having a child definitely falls under that umbrella. So if you'd like, we can find some time to chat a little bit more about your specific situation, Brandon. And I might call in a resource with my administration's or my admissions administration or administrator who has more information about SkillBridge, as it is a very nuanced program, to maybe give you a direct answer on like if that is feasible with your certain situation.
Yeah, because then, sorry to kind of take all the
No,
questions
that's
from
fine.
other people. Because the Army has also come out with a rule for certain ranks, you're only able to do a skill bridge for a certain amount of time.
I
And
know.
because
Yeah.
yours goes February, March, April, honestly, I wouldn't even technically by regulation, I can only do 90 days. So
Uh,
it goes into that May 15th anyways, because only like lower ranks can do up to 120. Um, so I didn't know how that would work with SkillBridge. You guys have a 75-day program, but I only can do 90 days of it. Would I be able to do 15 days outside of the program itself, like, and continue it? Because that also is why it's oddly timed with the 90 days would be right at the birth anyways. So I didn't really know, A, if it's allowed with the new regulation for 90 days, or B, if there's a way to fit a 75-day skill bridge or program into a 90-day skill bridge, or I guess it's 105 days. You guys kind of are, um, but yeah, sorry, I'm just rambling now, but just thinking about how it would work.
did you have a thought there, Kayla?
Yeah, so we've had folks before. So the thing is, SkillBridge, as you probably know, does kind of vary based on who your command is and whether they're going to like actually let you do it. That everyone has their kind of own regulations there, like every command, every branch, all of that stuff. But I have seen before folks who whose skill bridges don't align perfectly, but as long as I've seen it work out well before for folks who can skill bridge during the start of the program and then once they're out, like just finish the program. Like we're a nonprofit, we're gonna make it work for you if you can make it work with your chain of command. So I would say if you can get the skill bridge for the first chunk, which it sounds, forgive me if I misunderstood you, it sounds like that was what you were saying, that you'd be able to skill bridge for like the first chunk of it. And then after you're out, there would be another chunk. We wouldn't like kick you out or anything. You'd be allowed to finish.
That's perfect. No, it makes complete sense. And yeah, February, March, April, I would easily be able to do. And my command team is rather easier ones to kind of work with. So and then I could try to take some leave at the back end of that to try to do it. I just didn't know if it was weird with the program that for your guys' funding and allowing it, that if I wasn't able to fulfill all 110 days through the skill bridge specifically, that it would be like null and void or something. Um,
As
but
long as your command approves it, it should be fine for us. We may have to do some sort of situation where you were like on scholarship for the back half, which wouldn't cover your housing allowance, but it would still like cover the tuition.
Yeah, I would just be remote anyways. I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
So
And then, Kayla, I think I misspoke on my understanding of how SkillBridge would be. It seems like for SkillBridge, we would grant you a scholarship. You wouldn't need to pay out of pocket, but it isn't a funding source.
Yeah, so Danny was a little bit wrong. I've been here a little longer than Danny. Danny's still learning. He's doing great, but that was one area where just weren't quite right. So how SkillBridge works is you're still getting your like housing allowance and your healthcare and all of that, like your serving, your salary. But it doesn't pay the tuition like the GI Bill does. But what we do is we give you a pay what you can scholarship. So if you can pay some tuition, then you can pay a little bit of it. If you can't pay it, just say, I can't pay it, and we'll cover all of it.
okay, so it basically goes to the pay. It goes to the scholarship format. And it's done that way. Okay, that makes complete sense. Awesome. I'll stop talking. I know there's other people on. Thank
No
you.
problem
No
at
worries at all.
all.
And just wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance if they had some questions. Abel, I noticed that you were on the call. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to either put it in the chat or go off mic and ask us. We're here to answer any questions. We're a little bit past time, but happy to stay on for as much time as we need to get through all the questions that you might have.
Sorry, I just have a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
So the time for the in class is from 8:30 in the morning to 5:30 p.m. So the thing is, I live like all the way in Naperville. To drive to Chicago is like the traffic. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it, but is it acceptable to be there like later time? Like it's not like later time, like maybe 30 minutes late because traffic is not predictable when it comes to going down to Chicago, downtown Chicago. That's what I just want to ask.
Yeah, Kayla, I think you have more experience being in the office, obviously, than I do. Any thoughts there? I feel like there might be some flexibility in getting in late, but I do think that class starts when class starts, and I think it would be difficult for the instructors if you were like consistently behind when classes would start.
Yeah, class is like a synchronous time period where everyone's in class together and the lectures happen usually in the morning, so it would be important to like actually be there for lectures. If this was a situation where you wanted to like occasionally come in but not do it full time, it would be okay by us in the classroom, as long as we have the seat, which we almost certainly would, to have you take the program remotely, like technically speaking, and then just like occasionally like show up. That would be okay by us. But yeah, classes do happen synchronously and lectures are in the morning, so it would be important to try not to be late regularly.
Yeah, it's just like it's very difficult to predict what will happen, but it's not like an everyday thing, but it's like once in a while. Because the 28 weeks is great, but my Saturdays are busy. So that makes it so difficult. That's why I want to do like the 15 weeks because I don't have a job now. So like I get into it and like being involved in it. That's why I was like, accept.
Absolutely. Like we're reasonable people. We understand if there's traffic or train delays or what have you, but just try to be there on time. We do take attendance, and if there are like lots of attendance issues, there can be academic probation and things like that. So as long as you're making an effort though and you're communicative, that's what really matters to us. As long as you're communicative with the instructors, if you're going to be late and it's not a regular occurrence, I would say it'd be fine.
How much is
Okay,
the
thank you.
tuition? This is Abel. How much is the tuition?
So tuition is 20,000, but nobody pays that again through your GI Bill, VR&E, and through scholarships. We'll be able to cover a large majority of that. The pay what you can scholarship is exactly that. Tell us what you can reasonably pay, and we'll cover the difference. Even if that number is 0, we'll be able to cover the difference.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was thinking like you guys have a SkillBridge program, but I'm a veteran, so I didn't qualify for the SkillBridge program. I'm just asking if there's any other means, and you already mentioned about the scholarship program.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone is able to qualify for our scholarships. It's not like a college scholarship where we have a limited amount of them. The most important thing, sorry, Danny, I think I cut you off there,
Oh, no, you're
but the
fine.
most important thing is get accepted to the program first, and then afterwards you'll have a conversation with our enrollment coordinator where you'll talk about what it is you can pay. If it's nothing, it's nothing. That's totally okay. If it's like a little bit, that's also okay. We're a nonprofit. We're here to train you. We're not trying to take your money. It's not a concern. We'll make it work. Nobody has ever not attended Code Platoon because of tuition. Like, we will remove that
Exactly.
if that is an obstacle.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. We had another question in the chat from Jeffrey. Is the introductory course knowledge cover the learning curve for the course, or are there other resources we should use? What level of knowledge, skill, tech background is required or expected for the coursework?
Yeah, great question. I would say that the introductory course is definitely a great building and starting block. We're kind of loose with this, but we expect about 50 to 100 hours worth of software engineering experience on your own to feel confident in your ability to get through the program. So I know that's not an exact directive, but it's kind of tough to like ascertain what is the learning curve, right? Like, I mean, putting in the time, getting familiar with some of the basics like if else statements, for while loops, arrays, count, establishing variables, all those different kind of big, rudimentary pieces. It's almost like understanding if you were to learn English, like what is a noun, what is a pronoun, like some of those basic features. We hope that you do that on your own. And yeah, the introductory course should be a great foundational bedrock to assist you to get that plane kind of in the air. And then we hope that you're kind of, sailing on your own. And then once you're at cruising speed, you're in the program and we're able to get you to your final destination, which is ideally, getting through the program and finding you a position within an organization as a software engineer.
Awesome. Hopefully that answered your question, Jeffrey. We are kind of up against time a little bit, but if anyone has any last questions, we can hear a few more before we end today. I'm trying to think if there's anything we didn't talk about already. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just because timing's always difficult, especially speaking of whether it's SkillBridge or doing it otherwise. How strict is the application deadlines? So say like the application deadline for this one is coming up as November 30th. That's soon when I won't really know for the February SkillBridge more towards later December. Is it better to apply and then if SkillBridge paperwork doesn't work out to do it that way, or just wait past that time and apply if there's still spots available afterwards?
We're pretty strict with our deadlines, but that does not mean that you have to have your SkillBridge squared away by the November 30th deadline. What I recommend for folks applying via SkillBridge, or really just in general, is get accepted to Code Platoon first, because we have staff who can help you with the SkillBridge process, or if you wanted to use GI Bill or VR&E, or even understanding the scholarships a little better. I would say the most important thing is get the application in by the deadline, get accepted to Code Platoon, and then we'll help you square away any VA or DoD things after you're accepted.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else? And it can be about anything. It can be about the tech industry, though we talked about that a little, or any of our programs, the free courses. I think we talked about a lot though. So unless anyone has anything, I say we can end it here. Oh, I see Samuel, you're unmuted.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, did you have another question?
So the application is in how many parts? Because I just applied. Is it in 2 parts or just 3?
It's in 2 parts, yeah.
Okay.
Danny,
All
do you want
right.
to talk more about the application?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's part one, which is really straightforward, just basically kind of putting in some general information. You can do that probably in 5 minutes. Part two of the application is going through a coding exercise, specifically 3 coding questions, just to get a good baseline for what your coding level is. That's hosted right now through a platform called CoderByte, which is an online-based IDE. Basically, what that means is you don't have to download anything to your computer to complete that. It's all self-contained within the web, within that browser. And there you'll be able to put in your code. You can test your code. You can basically kind of see how you did. It is fully unlimited in terms of time. So you can take as much time as you want. You can do it as many times as you'd like as well. We'll take the best score basically. After that is completed, then we basically have you complete a video. It's a short video just describing how you attempted to complete one of those 3 problems. That's basically a way for us just to see like, hey, did you use ChatGPT? Did you cheat? Can you actually explain the work that you did? And then we also have a short essay, kind of short summary, basically your testimonial, why you want to join Code Platoon, what you're hoping to get out of the program, maybe a little bit about yourself, probably about like 2 paragraphs in total. And that's basically it for part 2 of the application. Once that's fully submitted, we'll have one of our admissions instructors take a look. They'll give you kind of a pre-approval or an acceptance. And then there will be a date that's kind of like a welcome call, almost like an orientation to a university where you can, basically get some more information, learn a bit about what's to expect in the weeks to come. And then we also have pre-work that we disseminate, which is basically just some work for you to get ramped up on before the first day of class.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then Jeffrey, you had a question about, oh, looks like Gail, you already crafted a nice answer there, but
I
yeah, we
gave
have a
you
career
like a whole
services team.
paragraph in
Yeah.
text. But if you want to talk about it,
No,
well,
I
particularly
mean,
the last part, because I hadn't seen it yet when I wrote it out. But what are some um, careers? Oh, what are some career changes you have been seeing in the tech industry? That's a good question.
I guess could you maybe extrapolate on that? What do you mean by career changes? Is that like somebody switching from one job to another?
I interpret it as like differences in what it's like having a career in tech now versus previously.
Um, I don't know. I mean, honestly, it changes so much based on what company you work for, right? Like if you're working at Amazon versus a startup, it's going to be, I mean, I don't want to say night and day, but very different of an environment. I would say there's definitely a lot more remote opportunities due to the pandemic and that kind of holding steadfast. A lot more, abilities for team to move quickly, and that's with like smart leveraging of AI. There's definitely a lot more opportunities to really kind of expand your product offering now, just how quickly you're able to build out features and launch them with customers. So yeah, I mean, like, from leak code to vibe coding to AI agents. I don't know, man. I mean, like leak code is basically like challenges that you get for interviewing, right? And like vibe coding is kind of like using AI to do the work for you, to AI agents. I don't have an answer for you, Jeffrey. That's a big question. If you want to maybe give me a direct question, I would be happy to try to answer a little bit more, but yeah, I don't think I could cover the entirety of leak code and vibe coding and AI agents, even in like the duration of this call. No, you're totally fine. It's just like, that's a very wide ranging thing. I mean, overall, like I guess if you're meaning like from leak code to vibe coding to AI agents, companies definitely focus on like either an internal built interview process and internal coding challenges that they've created, or they leverage like a leak code, a coder pad, a hacker rank, those kind of things to test and interview. So I think it's very helpful to get yourself used to going through some of those challenges and feeling confident about having like, hey, I have 30 minutes to complete this. How far can I get? Can I complete it entirely? Let me get from easy questions to medium to maybe even some really spicy hard questions. So that definitely still exists. Companies don't really have you vibe code at all. Usually that's something some people do on the job. I think it's something some people will use when they're like, hey, I want to build this like, rent tracking software for my Airbnbs and see how like the cash flow is. So that definitely happens, but at the same time, like companies aren't going to be testing on your vibe coding experience. That's just, something that when you get into the job, you might do a little bit of that. But yeah, I think that's more just like getting people that are more layman's to feel like they're a little bit more confident in reading code and just seeing how a computer would build code. But I wouldn't lean on vibe coding too much. I think vibe coding is a way for people to get a little bit lackadaisical and actually working and building out their skills.
Yeah, coding and technology really is something that you need to kind of be a lifelong learner to continue to advance your career because it changes so quickly, like even just as we've seen. So definitely wouldn't rely on vibe coding. It's definitely important to have the fundamentals down to be able to build on them and like understand what you're learning as you get more advanced. Awesome. All right. I think we will end it here. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. You were had a lot of really great questions. This was a great group. I had a really good time. I hope y'all got some value out of this. As you may have seen, we did record this, and we will have the recording out to you guys probably tomorrow. So you can keep an eye out for that if you need to like rewatch any of the answers that we gave. And if you have any follow-up questions, you are always welcome to reach out to us, especially Danny. His email is danny@codeplatoon.org, which I'm also putting in the chat right there, just again. So feel free to reach out at any time about anything. And yeah, we're always happy to help.